I think May was a great month to get insight into the institutional adoption of Bitcoin. As you just mentioned, the S1 filings concluded last Wednesday, which was the deadline for investment managers to disclose their US equity holdings, which in this case would now include the US Bitcoin ETFs. So just a great stat, I think, is the fact that 930 professional firms have invested in the US spot Bitcoin ETFs as of March 31st, which is absolutely massive. To just compare this to the gold ETFs, which had 95 professional firms invested, can really show you the excitement that Bitcoin is garnering. As we know, gold ETFs were revolutionary in the sense that they provided access to the most demanded physical commodity, but Bitcoin has clearly overshadowed this. For instance, 11 billion of exposure is held by the end of Q1 in these Bitcoin ETFs by these institutions, which represents just about 18% of the Bitcoin ETF's total assets under management, which is a significant amount, but shows that these institutions could still end up purchasing more and more over months to come. Just to name a few, I think, which would be quite interesting for people to know, is the likes of Millennium Management have come out as the biggest holder of these Bitcoin ETFs, investing almost 2 billion, with Cisco HANA, for instance, following at 1.1 billion. What I think is quite interesting to see, though, is we even saw banks like Morgan Stanley buy in, and we even saw Bitcoin's best friend, Jamie Dimon's JP Morgan, invest 1.2 million. Even if it's a mere 1.2 million, I think it's a great step forward. I think, firstly, it's no surprise that the adoption levels are this large. These ETFs give accessibility through a regulated and traditional investment vehicle. However, these are the same or some of the same institutions that were calling Bitcoin a bubble just a few years ago. So we've really come a far way in this time. And it's also in the month that Bitcoin crossed 1 billion transactions. So there's a lot of reasons to be happy. And I think this just leads to more questions about where else could we see adoption. And I think actually in early May, we saw some hints at this with some of the sovereign wealth funds doing their due diligence on Bitcoin ETFs as well. So for instance, we saw Norway's 1.6 trillion fund and Saudi Arabia's PIT doing some due diligence on potentially investing in Bitcoin as well, which is just great to see.
No, absolutely. Especially, it's nice to see this list of hedge funds here. And we shouldn't forget all those companies on this list here, they're in competition as well. And it could even turn that not investing in crypto or not having an allocation to Bit could be careless almost, because obviously they want to differentiate themselves in terms of performance. So definitely looking forward to the next 13F filings and what's going to happen in the future.
I think just another point to quickly add here, the fact that we saw the medical device maker, Semler Scientific, they came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, making an announcement that they are essentially using Bitcoin as their reserve asset. That's pretty crucial. Now it's extending beyond the landscape of the financial industry. And it's wholesome because we've been saying this for years. So it is really satisfying to see that this narrative and the value proposition of Bitcoin is really becoming more prominent. Even with Japan's MetaPlanet, Japan, we know that their economy is really dealing with a lot of issues at the moment. So the fact that MetaPlanet is using it as a hedge against their currency debasement, again, it's starting to really extend beyond being just a tool for being competitive, as you just mentioned, Adrian, but also seeing it for the true value proposition that it stands for.
100%. So in the audience, if you have any sovereign funds or any treasury managers, make sure to educate yourself about Bitcoin. It's going to be more and more important in the future.